That man has been hitting the roids. Well, I've got another big review out of the way, so it's time for everyone's kind of sort of favorite show where we celebrate the gorgeous medium of comic books by bringing to light some of its less than pleasant looking awkward moments. As always, we never mean any ill will towards the artists behind these images, and they can absolutely draw better than we could by miles. But that doesn't mean they're above a little playful joshing. Just a little joshing, you know? Just some joshing. Right, David?
So if we're joshing, why isn't Josh here?
Shut up. Everybody likes a good josh now and then. So, David, what do you have to say about this episode's selections of goof-ups and errors?
Well, I was surprised by how many different artworks were bad in the exact same way. Like, they didn't really learn or change. They were just bad consistently throughout.
Yeah, well, that's it's kind of the theme of today's episode is consistency. Alright, our first image here is by prominent Spider-Man artist Humberto Ramos. While a lot of people are quite fond of his later works, he got off to a rough start as an artist. His early stuff is pretty, yeah. With time, he improved, like any artist that practices, and later on his style started to look pretty nice. Some of his drawings are downright cool. This is not one of those drawings. This has got to be one of the worst Spider-Man swinging poses I've ever seen, being that it looks like he's contorting this way for no real reason, while the webs are over here and look like silly string that isn't going anywhere. At the end of Peter's bent Turian legs are boots filled with DVD cases. I'd also like to draw attention to the shadowy, nebulous region where his thigh, leg, and ass all connect to his spine, just a half-inch below his ribs, leaving it a complete mystery where his right ass cheek could possibly be. Thoughts, David?
Well, I don't know what Peter wants to know given that text box, but what I want to know is what animal really bit him at the laboratory all those years ago. Because if I were to hazard a guess, it looks less like he was bitten by a radioactive spider, more like he was bitten by a radioactive Perry the Platypus. Those flippers aren't very aerodynamic, but they'd be fantastic for swimming upstream.
As atrocious as this one is, that didn't stop Ramos from refining his style and getting his shit together for some solid Spidey art in the years following. Though his Wolverines could use some work. These two images were sent in by fans on Twitter, and boy, does Wolverine look like Morbius's wet dream. Maybe he was self-conscious about being canonically 5'3" and decided to get an adamantium neck brace installed. You could fit another one of Wolverine's skulls inside of his neck, and it baffles me that he drew this same goof twice in a row. At least he's consistent.
Now, I'm gonna skip over the fact that Logan looks like a really muscular giraffe with that neck, because I'm sure that Xavier's jokes are better than mine. Honestly, I wanted to focus more on Logan's pig nostrils. They draw my eye a lot more than the neck. And the woman, I love her shapeless mass that erupts from her shoulders that's supposed to be a head.
No, man, you have one panel here where there's too much neck, and then a panel here where there's not enough neck.
It looks like her head is just a potato with a wig on it. And there's no feature to it. There's no texture. There's no like cheekbones. There's no skin texture. So it just feels like a potato.
There's so much definition in every like sharp edge on Wolverine's face, and then that woman to the side
has
there
nothing.
Is just rounded edges upon rounded edges. There's nothing that's like a defining line except for that little bit on her chin there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next image has another character that's just like Wolverine, just sharp edges all over the place.
You know, I don't have anything new to mention about the hideously deformed neck than I didn't before. I'll talk instead about how the woman there apparently bought her earrings from the candy store. Are those Mike and Ike's, or are they hot tamales? I can't tell.
Next up, I'd like to show another one I found in my eternal quest to read all Spider-Man comics.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Amazing Spider-Man number 624 by Paul Azaceta and Javier Rodriguez. It looks like Spidey's been packing on the pounds lately, and it's really throwing off his swing.
Man, that cake was good. I'm stuffed.
I saw this panel once before, and without context, I assumed it was some weird Elseworld story where Spider-Man was old and doing the Mr. Incredible thing. Or maybe it was some plus-size Spider-Man impersonator, but nope, that's Pete alright.
I think that Peter has got way more to worry about than just his shoulder. For one, he seems to have misplaced his left arm and just has a glove flapping attached to the stump of his suit where his arm normally is supposed to be.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice how bad that angle is.
Oh, and he might want to check the lump he's got in his chest because it might be cancer.
I like how that's a catchphrase. Now, the thing is, it's okay to have a rough time drawing a pose in one panel. It happens. But I think the artists need to practice a bit more when they make the same mistake over and over and over. I won't place blame on either of the artists, but for this storyline, they could just not figure out how Spider-Man's torso is supposed to look. In almost every single image, he's super chunky and has these weird tumorous growths jutting out of his stomach. I feel like any second a torrent of sand is going to burst out of him like that Marvel Zombies scene.
The one part where he's got his shirt off, it looks like he's got his nipples in his belly.
Speaking of overeating, let's take a look at this cover here where the Hulk seems to have eaten a sofa that just doesn't seem to be sitting well. This image of the Hulk assaulting Bruce Banner, as well as our sense of anatomy, was illustrated by Richard Corben. A friend on Twitter going by the name of Mick Bissell didn't suggest this cover, but this entire run of this 4-issue series.
So the Hulk can stop one of those whale ship things from the Avengers with his bare hands, but he hurts his poor little noggin when he rams himself into some concrete.
Much like babies, the Hulk's skull isn't formed all the way, so it's actually a much softer point than the rest of his body. That's a canonical weakness for the Hulk, is if you punch him in the right angle of his head, he dies. That's why Red Hulk is tougher, because he has a hard skull.
So he's the Red Skull Hulk.
Where does his mustache go when he transforms? No one knows. Here we see a prehistoric caveman being attacked by one of those dogs from Resident Evil, causing him to mess himself mid-skirmish, an act that forces the scales on his neck to become inflamed because he is half lizard.
Are you sure that that's the Hulk? Because it looks more like the monster from the Goonies developed a skin condition and started hitting the gym.
It appears that the not-so-jolly Green Giant is finding himself on the receiving end of a very passionate lovemaking session with the Flash villain called Nimbus, who loves him in spite of his tiny feet and enormous neck.
Gamma Tsunami! Hulk no like f***ing girls, little man.
I don't have a joke for this one. I'm just angry that this one made it to print. What the fuck?
So is this guy wearing one of those fake muscle shirts that make you look more muscular than you really are? If he isn't, I'm scared for his health.
Well, to end this decade's episode, I'll throw in a little cover that's been suggested by too many fans to count all at once. I think I've had it sent to me or linked in comments at least 20 times, and for the life of me, I can't figure out who the first person was. But, yeah, I think this one speaks for itself.
Really? Another Wolverine? How many badly drawn Wolverines are there? There have been 3 in this episode alone.
Wolverine is very easy to draw poorly because he's short and muscular, and that means that the proportions are harder.
Like that Rob Liefeld knockoff in the Rob Liefeld big wide panel?
You're gonna have to be more specific. There's a lot of
Troll.
Rob Liefeld Wolverine knockoffs.
Oh.
You see, here, I wanna run through Wolverine's day before this image, this sort of snapshot of his life was taken. See, Wolverine got up today, squeezed his small forearms into his elephant skin gloves, had a friend help apply the yellow and turquoise body paint for his costume, he put on his ill-fitting dentures, adorned his head with his Batman mask that's both too tight and not tight enough at the same time, and went out for a night on the town hunting what I can only assume is a wet mogwai that he just can't stop thinking about.
I can't see his eyes.
If you zoom in, there's like 3 pixels of an eye hole, I swear.
He must have really bad peripheral vision. Like, he's driving home in his Honda Accord, and he can't see if there's a car on his left or on his right. He must get into a lot of car accidents.
But you see, he's Wolverine, so it doesn't matter how many car accidents he gets into.
But his
the only
insurance
thing that's...
rates must be so high by now. How can he afford that?
The only thing that won't heal is his insurance.
Damn it.
Oh, hold on. I love that one shoulder is, like, way bigger than the other one.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
He must be working out one side of his body only. I'm not going to question that because I don't want to know.
Well, this century's episode sure was, something.
Yep.
I guess.
We'll see you next millennium.
A lot of bad art from Marvel this time. Maybe we should do, like, a DC-only episode sometime to offset it.
The next one is not going to be that. You want to tell them what next episode's going to be?
Yes, next episode's theme is going to be bad movie adaptations. You see, I kept looking in all the wrong places because I was like, hey, I'll look in those Alien and Predator comics from the 80s. And it's just like this really beautiful, picturesque art that's good enough to, like, hang up in a museum. And it's like, God damn it. Be bad at this.
Read Star Trek comics. That's where you go for bad art.
Star Trek comics are on the agenda. I can't wait to see all the poorly rendered Zachary Quintos.
I can't wait to see them draw doughy middle-aged Shatner in like The Voyage Home or something.
But yeah, we should do a DC only episode right after that one to offset how much Marvel there was this time. But hey, that depends almost entirely on the fans and how much they send us. Want to get in touch with us and other fans about our videos? Today we're launching the official GodzillaMendoza Discord server where you can send fan art, covers, bad comic art, and you can stay up to date on our release schedule while you perpetuate a dead minor internet meme with other people wearing glasses using our custom server emojis. Look, there's that one thing. Look, there's that other thing. So come on down today and join the space party. We'll also be doing bad comic art for once a month now instead of every 9 months.
Every 2 centuries, every 3 millennia. And that's why we need your help, because if we want to speed this up and do more of it, we need more of you to send more art to us so that we can
the Discord server will be the best place for that. So send it on over there. And please, for the love of God, make sure if you send it, it's in like a good resolution, because if it's like 18 pixels by 19 pixels, I can't show it, because then it'll just become like one of those like magic eye pictures where if you squint hard enough you can see what it is, but otherwise
if you do that, at least tell us what comic it's from so we can find the HD versions.
Alright, so any last remarks? Now for that awkward period of time where we don't know how to end an episode of one of these.
Okay, I subscribe to Davidian Productions.
Oh god, every time. That's your fallback every time. Oh, the Hulk was getting very violently rammed up the ass by a cloud.
What?
What?
The Hulk was getting fucked by a cloud!
By a what?
By a cumulonimbus cloud!
Where was this?
Earlier during the lightning round!
What?
The lightning round!
I don't get what you're talking about. Please yell louder. Be loud.
I'm trying so hard